So, welcome to the second to last video for this year's Breeders' Cup. Um, this is for the Breeders' Cup turf. It's at 1.5 miles on turf for 3-year-olds and up. There was a field of 13 entered, but there was a major scratch a couple of days ago with the defending champion, Magician, being scratched due to a minor injury. I am heartbroken for Joseph O'Brien because he's very tall for a jockey, and there's probably not a lot of races for him to run flat-wise because he's because of weight issues. So I'm heartbroken for him. His dad's could be fine. His dad has another horse in the race. He actually has a filly in the race. So sad for Aidan O'Brien, but I'm more sad for his son Joseph. So let's go ahead and take a look at this year's turf field. Number 1 is Telescope. Ryan Moore will ride for Sir Michael Stout. He's by Galileo. Third in the International and second in the King George. The 6th and Queen Elizabeth. Was second to Noble Mission, who is Franco's little brother, twice earlier this year. Telescope's been a bit of a buzz horse the past 2 years. I think he has a very good chance of hitting the board. I think also a lot of people thought that Noble Mission was going to come over for this year's turf, but his owners decided to send Flintshire instead. Number 2 is Twilight Eclipse. He's by Porum. Javier Castellano will ride for Tom Albertrani. Second in the Turf Classic, third in the Sword Dancer. He went to Dubai earlier this year, but before he went to Dubai, in his last start of 2013 and his first start of 2014, he won 2 stakes races in Florida. And unfortunately, in his last 3 starts, he's had to face Main Sequence, who I will talk about in a few moments. The same goes with number 3, Imagining. Joel Rosario will ride for Shug McGahee. He's by Giants Causeway. Third in the Turf Classic and second in the Sword Dancer. He's only been worse than third once this year, and like Twilight Eclipse, he's had the unfortunate honor of facing Main Sequence in his races this year. Number 4 is Brown Panther. Richard Kingscote will ride for Tom Descombe. He's by Scirocco. Won the Irish St. Leger and was third in the Goodwood Cup. Outside of Telescope, he's probably the best European in this race. But he panicked. Pretty much big time. 2 weeks ago in the Canadian International. He panicked so much that he got loose and was scratched. So instead of sending him home, they brought him to Santa Anita. So I believe he will have a pony, which is very North American. And hopefully the pony does a nice job to keep him calm. If I have any concerns, is that I don't know if he could act up in the paddock, because there's going to be a lot of people around. I mean, it's Breeders' Cup Saturday after all. So that's, if I have any concerns, that's it. Otherwise, he's got a monster chance. The fact that he is coming out of a win. Actually, Flintshire also has a pretty good chance to win as well. Number 5 is Hanover Kid. Jose Lezcano ride for Jason Service. He's by Lemon Drop Kid. 4th in the Turf Classic, and then before that he won the Bowling Green. But he's been inconsistent of running in stakes races. He's been jumping between stakes and allowance company because he hasn't had the greatest stakes record. So in order to get confidence, he's been going down to allowance company. I just, against this type of field, I don't think he has any chance. Unfortunately, the fact that he's already been defeated by a couple of these horses that are in American horses that are in this year's field, yeah, not 100% confident in him. Number 6 is Finnegan's Wake. Joe Talmo rides for Peter Miller. Almost forgot Finnegan's Wake. He's by Powers Court. 2nd in the John Henry and 5th in the Arlington Million. Has faced both Wise Dan and Guilty Charge. Lost to them both. Fact that he has a race over the surface is helpful. Because I believe not many, I think only one other horse in this year's field, maybe Hanover Kid, ran here last year, but I don't remember, has a race over the surface, even maybe Twilight Eclipse, but I don't like his chances at all in this turf for this year. Number 7 is Flintshire. Maxime Guyon will ride for Andre Fabre. He is by Dan Silly. 2nd in Arc and 2nd in the Prix Foy. This is his North America debut. The fact that he was 2nd in the Arc is actually a good sign because Arc runners, as long as they're not the winner, actually tend to run better in the U.S. than they do at Longchamp. I think he has a big chance to win. I think he is the best European in this race of the 4 that were sent over. I'm not including Main Sequence because he's a U.S. horse now, so we're going to consider him, for these purposes, American. So yeah, I think that he has a great chance, and I would not be surprised if he picks up the win. Number 8, Magician, is scratched, unfortunately. So that goes to number 9, Hardest Core. Ulysses Vaz will ride for Eddie Graham. He's by Hard Spun. Won the Arlington Million and Cape Henlopen. He is undefeated for his new connections. After last year he ran for a group of owners associated with Adina and Karen McLaughlin. Sentimentally, he will be the favorite. And this is pure sentimental. If you don't know his story, one of his co-owners, who owns it with his parents, Andrew Bentley, has Down syndrome. Hardest Core, after he was gelded, because they were going to turn him into a jumper, for steeplechase, because that's what his trainer is more known for. He almost died from whatever happened, and New Bolton, who took care of Barbaro, New Bolton Center, University of Pennsylvania, saved his life. He already has a win at 1.5 miles. Not many of the Americans, with the exception of Main Sequence, and I believe Hanover Kid, think the Bowling Green's also at 1.5 miles. And Imagining, because I think he won the Man of War, can say they have a win at 1.5 miles. That being said, it's one thing to have a win at 1.5 miles against Listed Company, which he did at Delaware. It's another thing to win at 1.5 miles at a grade 1 level. That being said, he's already beaten Magician, who is now injured and retired, and he beat Sidelance, who Main Sequence defeated. And Sidelance is now on his Australian tour, and he did well in his first start there about a month ago. Not so well in his second start in the Cox Plate. But the Cox Plate was won by Adelaide, who also won on the Million card. So he has that mojo going for him. Is that a horse who's already won a grade 1 in the US, won overseas in Australia. So sentimentally, I'm rooting for him. I just can't see him winning against this type of quality field, though. Number 10 is Star Spangled Heat. Corey Nakatani will ride for Barry Abrams. He is by unusual heat, the king of California, sire-wise. Fourth in the Del Mar handicap, and John Henry. He hasn't won in over a year, so I don't think he will do well here. But as I said, his sire's the king of California when it comes to stakes winners and money earned, I believe. So yeah, I think he has a decent chance because, like Finnegan's Wake and Big John B, who is another Californian, they're all based here, so they all know the surface better than, say, for the Americans, Twilight Eclipse, Hardest Core, Main Sequence. They all are East Coast horses. Number 11, almost did it again. Number 11 is the only filly in the race, Chiquita. Frankie Dettori will ride for Aidan O'Brien. That's an interesting combo. A combo that came out, I think, 2 years ago with Camelot. Because Frankie Dettori used to be the number 1 rider for Godolphin, and Aidan O'Brien trains for Godolphin's adversary, Coolmore. So, well, Ballydoyle, to be more exact. But it's the same group. So it's something that you're still kind of getting used to. But Frankie is one of the better European riders who does well in the U.S. Ryan Moore also does well in the U.S. too. But when you think of Breeders' Cup, you really think of, for Europeans, you think of Frankie. But getting to Chiquita, she's by Montu. Third on Champions Day at Ascot, and then she was 15th in the Arc. But she already has a win at 1.5 miles when she won the Irish Oaks. I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up being like an Ouija board type filly. She's going against the boys here, whereas Ouija board stayed with her own sex when she ran an Arc and won the Breeders' Cup. Filly and Mare Turf the same year. But I would not be surprised if she ends up being that Ouija board type horse where she becomes super popular, not only in the US, but Europe as well, because that's what Ouija board was. She was very popular in the US, and very popular in Europe. And actually, speaking of Ouija board and Aiden, unfortunately, her best foe today, Australia, was injured and retired. But I think everyone had hoped that he would come for the Breeders' Cup, but injury cost him. I don't think she will do well this year. But if she stays in training for next year, I think she could be a horse to look out for. Number 12 is Main Sequence. John Velasquez will ride for Grand Motion. He's by Aldebaran, which is kind of ironic, because so getting off point for a minute, Speightstown has a 1.25 mile winner, several actually, but he was a sprinter. Aldebaran was also a sprinter, and he has a winner at a 1.5 miles. Won the Turf Classic and Sword Dancer. 3 for 3 in the ULS. Grand Motion already has a Breeders' Cup Turf winner in Better Talk Now. If anything cost him the race, it's the fact that John Velasquez is not a good fit for him, and that is not Johnny V's or Main Sequence's fault. In the Jockey Club Gold Cup, Main Sequence's regular rider, Rajiv Murad, was injured in a spell off Wicked Strong, who was one of the favorites. It was thanks to another horse that I'll talk about in the classic preview. But he broke his arm, and I think there was a chance that he would have been back like last week, but doctors decided better safe than sorry. Just wait till the Florida major season starts and just pick it up there. So he's out of the Breeders' Cup. Johnny V, who has ridden for Graham in the past on Animal Kingdom, is now on. I don't think it's going to cost Main Sequence the race. If anything costs him the race, it will be the post. But it's a long race, so I don't think it's going to be a huge deal. So I still think Main Sequence is going to be a major factor in this year's turf. The fact is that he's undefeated in the US, and he's faced Camelot, who almost won the Triple Crown in England. I believe he was second to him in the Epsom Derby. And he's done nothing wrong since his UN win. So I really like him. And he knows where the wire is. So that's why I really like him to win this year's turf. Will I pick him? You'll have to wait in a few minutes. Last but not least is Big John B, number 13. Mike Smith will ride for Phil D'Amato. He's by Hardspun. Third in the John Henry, but he won the Del Mar Handicap. He has improved big time since being claimed, and there have been some great horses who have been former claimers and have gone on to run in the Breeders' Cup. Probably the biggest name of all was Lava Man, who unfortunately did not do so well in the Breeders' Cup, but had done well enough to make the Breeders' Cup in 2006, where he was among the favorites in the Classic. He was coming at the end of the John Henry. I think he is a horse who certainly will love the 1.5 mile distance. But again, against these Europeans, I'm not 100% sure. But so sentimentally, I'll actually to get to my sentimental picks as well. in when I do the picks. But sentimentally, I want him to be, if not the winner, like second. But I will get to those in a little bit. So that is your field for the Breeders' Cup Turf. Number 1 is Telescope. Number 3 is Twilight Eclipse. Number 3 is Imagining. Number 4 is Brown Panther. Number 5 is Hanover Kid. Number 6 is Finnegan's Wake. Number 7 is Flintshire. Number 8 is Magician Who is Scratched. Number 9 is Hardest Core. Number 10 is Star Spangled Heat. Number 11 is Chiquita. Number 12 is Main Sequence. And number 13 is Big John B. So up next are the picks. So first off, I have my regular picks, and then I have my sentimental picks. I should just note that my sentimental picks this is the only video that I'm going to be doing sentimental picks on, because this is actually the race that I'm most excited about for the Sears Breeders' Cup. So for my regular picks to win, I have Main Sequence to win. I just feel like that what he's done in the U.S., he can handle any type of surface. It really doesn't matter. He can get the win. In second, I have Flintshire. I think he will like a firm turf. The same thing with Chiquita. But I just feel like that Flintshire might be a little bit better than Chiquita. And the fact is that he will have more rest than she will. And then in third, I like Telescope. He's coming off the most rest for the 4 Europeans, including Brown Panther. And he has the number 1 jockey in Europe. So it's going to be a good test between Ryan Moore and Javier Castellano, who are right next to each other. The number 1 jockey in Europe versus the number 1 jockey in the U.S. And when you add in Main Sequence to the factor, because John Velazquez is also an Eclipse winner and has done well in Europe. Not as well, I think, though, as he can be, but keep in mind, the jockey pool over there is a lot stronger. But I just feel like, though, that Main Sequence is a better horse right now than Flintshire and Telescope. Now, for my sentimental 1, 2, 3, I have Hardest Core, who is one of my dark horses, winning. His story just alone deserves to be in the winner's circle. And the fact is he's by Hardspun, and I love Hardspun. So, for that reason alone, Hardest Core is my sentimental winner. My runner-up for the sentimentally is Main Sequence, because this is more, again, with his record in the U.S., and the fact is that he faced Camelot, and I love Camelot. I felt that Camelot deserved the Triple Crown in Europe 2 years ago. Unfortunately, couldn't get it done. Was heartbroken, but he was just such a great colt. And then third is Twilight Eclipse, sentimentally, because I love Twilight Eclipse. I love his owners, West Point. Not the hugest Tom Albertrani fan, but I love Twilight Eclipse. He's been here for like a long time for now. And he was an inexpensive purchase. So like my Miss Sophia in the Distaff, he has definitely earned his keep. Of course, Imagining with Shug McGahee and his connections. Of course, Chiquita, Philly going against the boys. Big John B, another hard spun. I just feel like that hardest core main sequence and Twilight Eclipse are my sentimental picks. So regularly, for my regular picks, I have main sequence, Flintshire, and Telescope. Sentimentally, I have hardest core, main sequence, Twilight Eclipse, and for my dark horses, I have actually 3 of them: Big John B, hardest core, and Twilight Eclipse. I think they're the 3 Americans that can go a mile and a half outside of main sequence and win the race. So that is it for the Breeders' Cup Turf. Classic, which I actually recorded before this race, will be up tonight after the races. So check that out. And thank you for watching again. And I will be back with the Classic. Bye.